It just might be the greatest sports franchise in the history of sports. A place where legends are made, and there's always something to talk about. Get ready to immerse yourself in pinstripes. Start spreading the news, hosted by Paul Semendinger and E.J. Fagan, a couple of doctors with a prescription for Yankee fever. And now, here's Dr. Paul Semendinger and Dr. E.J. Fagan. Get ready to start spreading the news.
All right, and here we are, Paul Semendinger along with Dr. E.J. Fagan. This is the Start Spreading the News Yankee podcast. Reminder that this show is brought to you by Artemisia Publishing. Artemisia is a fantastic publisher who publishes a wide selection of great books, including many baseball titles, including numerous ones authored by me. But that's not the only reason to go to apbooks.net. They have books across every genre. Check them out, get some great books, and read a lot. All right, EJ, welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing wonderful, Paul.
All right, EJ, I'm not one to brag. I don't really want to, let you know that, are you in the Guinness Book of World Records?
Paul, I am not in the Guinness Book of World Records, but as we've talked about, my baby might be one day.
That is true. Well, here's a photograph. Technically, I'm in the Guinness Book of World Records now. I'm part of a group that set a world record yesterday.
I'm curious to hear what this is. I have no idea. You told me a world record. I don't know what the record is.
The world record, you can see three really good-looking people there. On the left in the beard with the Lafayette jersey, that's my son, Ethan. In the middle is obviously me. And on the right in the Red Sox garb is my dad, 87 years old. And yesterday we were at Yogi Berra Stadium, and to celebrate Yogi Berra's would have been Yogi Berra's 100th birthday, they had over 2,000 people on the field at Montclair College at Yogi Berra Stadium to take part in the world's biggest game of catch. The Guinness guys were there. Willie Randolph was there, Ron Guidry, Ed Alstrom, the Yankee organist, Josh Rowich from the Hall of Fame, Bob Costas was there. It was a big event, and we set the record for the world's biggest game of catch. And again,
how did this work? So you just like line up in a circle and everybody threw it to each other?
No, it was everybody everybody had to have a partner.
Okay.
And you stood about, I don't know, maybe 5, 8, 10 feet from each other. It wasn't all that far. You couldn't throw hard to each other. But at the designated time, I think the catch had to go for a full 5 minutes. Everybody in that stadium had to be having a catch simultaneously. And as we did it, the Guinness guy walked around. They had other people who were making sure that everybody was having a catch. If you dropped the ball, which we didn't. But if you dropped a ball, you had to just pick it up and keep going. And if that could be maintained by all of those people at the same time, it would set the world record. And it did.
Pretty cool. Congratulations, world record holder.
Yeah, well, I don't like to brag too much, but ever since then, like the paparazzi, I can't go anywhere. People are asking for my autograph. It's crazy.
Sounds like a fun event. That sounds pretty cool.
I could send you an autograph if you want. I don't know. Do you like?
Next time I see, I got a couple of books you can sign. That's the easiest. Well, that is very cool, and I can't imagine the pressure on the Guinness Book World Record guy if he saw something he didn't like. Does he tell 2,000 people, sorry, got to start again?
You got to start all over. It doesn't count. He gave some rules, like if anybody's on
Paul
their phone,
over there wasn't playing catch right, and so so you all got to go again.
Could you imagine? Imagine if it was you couldn't drop the ball, and you were so close. Most people didn't drop the ball. It was just like a little toss. It wasn't really having.
Yeah, we got 2,000 people. Someone's gonna ruin it, right?
Yeah. Could you imagine if it was like if one ball drops, you blow it, and then they're like, "All right, we would have set the world record, but." Hank.
Yeah.
You blew it, Hank. Let's try again. Oh, so that was fun. That was a good day. And it's, it was great to experience it, of course, with my youngest son, and my dad, again, who's 87, and we still have catches. He can still throw a baseball. He still tries to throw his knuckleball. And just so great stuff. All right, so moving on to less important things, because even if the Yankees win the World Series, I don't think that gets them in the record book. The playoffs are going to start next week. It seems unlikely that the Yankees will win the division. Anything could happen, but it looks as though it's going to be the wild card, and it looks as though the Yankees, their schedule is so simple. If they don't clinch the top wild card spot, that'll be a problem. So let's just play it out.
The Yankees are basically locked in for the first wild card. I agree with you. I think the division, it's not impossible. I think Fangraphs gives them a 12% chance. So that's not nothing, but that's that's requiring Toronto to lose a bunch of games.
Correct. So Max Fried will go game 1, Carlos Rodon will go game 2, and then really it becomes a question of Cam Schlittler, Luis Heel, or Will Warren. Who do you give the?
I want Schlittler. Like I don't want to. I get like I think Heel might be higher in the pecking order, like in like the baseball world. He's won Rookie of the Year last year. He's been around for longer. I think Heel is pitching badly, and the low ERA is a bit of a mirage. You look at his Statcast numbers, Heel's been awful. He's been walking the ballpark, has not been striking a lot of guys out. Contact hasn't been especially soft. And I just feel like, the goal for game 3, if you're pitching a game 3, the season is on the line. And you're going to pitch your full bullpen in that game, right? I don't care how good of a start the starter is. Like, they're not going 7-8 innings. And the goal for the starter is, like, don't give up the game in the first inning. Right. Like I remember when I think Luis Severino did that in a wild card game years ago. And the Yankees tried to kind of dig their way out of it, but they just couldn't. The game was over early. And I feel like Heel is the guy that he can come in and walk 3 guys in the first inning. Right. Like that's entirely plausible.
It's an interesting perspective. You're actually going to be starting the game almost like the old fashioned, which is, a couple of years ago with the Rays and stuff, the idea of an opener.
Yep.
You're really instead saying to Cam, give us
2 times through the order, right? Give me 2 times through the order. And there's no way you're seeing a batter the 3rd time through the order. And we're pulling you if you have 2 runners on in the second. Right. And I think that the lowest risk option here is Schlittler. Warren has shown the ability to be good, but also blow up. Luis Heel, I think, has not been pitching well. I think Schlittler has had 1 bad start in his last, 2 months. And, I think worst case scenario, he's going to throw 98, in the strike zone. And that limits the damage in a way. I think he's I also think I think he's the most talented of those 3 pitchers, just in general. And I think that he has the lowest downside. And to me, you're playing, downside is the question. You know that you can get 6 innings out of David Bednar, Luke Weaver, Tim Hill, and Devin Williams, right? If you have to. And you don't want to. You'd love it if you're starting to go a little longer. But that's a possibility. So really, it's just keep us in the game. Be competitive. And I don't believe in Luis Heel right now.
Well, if whoever starts, the other 2 guys are available.
Absolutely. Right. And I mean, look, I think in a deciding game, I don't know if I want to see either of those guys out of the bullpen. Right. Like they haven't done it before.
That's correct.
It'd be a Nestor Cortez in the World Series kind of situation.
Well, a little bit different.
The Yankees hadn't
pitched in a month.
Right. But still, I don't know if Luis Heel is going to be a good reliever. I would have loved it if they could have started him, pulled him from the rotation 2 weeks ago and started trying to get him as a reliever. That may not be they didn't have another starter to pitch, right? So it's not like they really could have done that, and they were still fighting for every game. If they had a little bit more of if they had a little bit more cushion or behind a little more in the division, maybe they do that for his last start or 2. And try to practice him pitching, or try to practice Adam Warren pitching out of the bullpen. But in a game 3 of the wild card, which is the scenario we're talking about here, I don't want that. Right, game 3 of the wild card, the Yankees have a deep enough bullpen, assuming they don't have to burn all of them in the first 2 games. That I really just don't see a scenario where it seems unlikely to me that they're going to have to use those guys. Maybe they do. Right? Maybe they do have to burn all of the good guys in both games 1 and 2. That would be rough. But I still think that there's potential. I just don't know where when your opportunity is to see if Luis Gil can be a good reliever. Maybe in a blowout game in the DS or something, right? Then, or let's say Carlos Rodon, whatever, gives up a bunch of runs in game 2. Well, then in that case, you hand it to Gil or Warren. You also have Yarbrough to do that. In theory, Blackburn to do that, right? So you have lots of long relief guys on the roster. And I don't really want to see Luis Gil using the long relief role in the postseason. I want to see if he can do a Phil Hughes, right? Like, can this guy play up in 1 inning? Like I said, they have plenty of guys to throw innings for you. What they really need is like one more power arm to really kind of, solidify what's been a shaky bullpen.
Well, that could be Will Warren too. He gets a lot of strikeouts.
It is, yeah, and I, like Will Warren, like in my head, like I close my eyes and I picture Will Warren, and I picture him as kind of like Jordan Montgomery. But Jordan Montgomery never threw as hard as Warren does, right? Like Warren has better stuff than that kind of player, and he's just kind of played down, or even like his stuff is almost like too good, like it's too much movement on some of his pitches. Then maybe he's just easy to read. I don't know. Yeah, Warren, I can imagine the same way. You're going to need 4 starters if you go deep into the playoffs, right? So you are going to need 2 of those guys, to pitch some games for you. For Warren, it might be, if he's the 4th starter, it might be 1 game, maybe 2 games if they get deep into both 7-game series. But the 3rd starter is going to pitch a lot. And that's Schlittler. And also the ALDS, if you end up burning, going to a game 3, that game 1 start for the DS is, very important. It gets a little rough.
100%. All right, we're going to look at division races, but let's have the bigger talk here. Aaron Judge. Yeah. There's talk that the other guy, the big bopper or whatever he is, big bottom or whatever, big dumper. Yeah. Cal Raleigh, because he has a whole bunch of home runs and he's a catcher, should be the MVP. To me, he's hitting 248. Judge is hitting 322 or whatever. Judge is better than him in on-base percentage, batting average, slugging percentage, OPS plus. I think he's hit more doubles. I think he's hit more triples. It's Aaron Judge is going to be the MVP. No? How do you argue against him? So I think the one argument for Raleigh is he's really close in Fangraphs WAR. And really not that close in Baseball Reference WAR. Right. And two games, right? I think it's like, yeah, like Baseball Reference WAR has him at 7, Raleigh at 7 wins, has Judge at 9. Fangraphs has Judge at 9.2 and Raleigh at 8.8. And the difference in that is framing, right? So Fangraphs WAR incorporates framing. I believe Baseball Reference WAR does not. And that's his defensive value. If you take framing out, he's a bad defensive catcher. If you add in framing, he's a good defensive catcher. And I think if it were basically tied, I think I vote for the catcher, if I'm being objective, right? You're talking about a position where you're not expected to play 150 something games, where, you're really doing the team a service by not having to have or play a backup. And Raleigh has been just really, really good at catcher, right? Like, this is a guy who could hit 62, 63 home runs if he has a hot last week. Aaron Judge does have the lead in Fangraphs WAR and is having an amazing offensive season. But he's played a lot of DH. He did miss some time. And, the numbers went from being best ever to like typical for Aaron Judge, right? Which is like, it's a weird thing to say, but like, oh man, he's only a 9-win player. But that's different from him being an 11-win player, right? And last year was 11 wins. It's a completely different world. 9 wins, that's human, right? That is merely a very good MVP. And for example, Bobby Witt Jr. had 9 wins and lost the MVP to Aaron Judge. So I think it really just depends on, like, do you think that the catcher numbers are real, right? Do you think that he's a good catcher? If you look at his blocking numbers, they're pretty bad.
And that's what Baseball Reference War is bringing up. You look at his caught stealing numbers, they're decent. And then you look at his framing numbers, and they're pretty elite. And I kind of buy the Fangraphs war, frankly. I don't actually ever really look at the Baseball Reference War leaderboards. I only looked at for this discussion today. I think I'd probably vote for Raleigh if I had a vote.
Interesting. I think Judge's offensive numbers are just.
I mean, they're incredible. It's off the charts incredible, but also catchers just don't do this.
Correct.
Right.
But neither do pitchers. And to me,
I mean, there's one particular pitcher who's going to win an NL MVP, right? Who's doing this, right? I mean, that's how special we're talking about here. I mean, the Kyle Raleigh is having the best season by any catcher ever. I mean, did Bench have any seasons like this?
No, not really. I was going to bring up I just picked one of them, but the 1951 MVP was Yogi. But Yogi was only 6th in WAR. They didn't have WAR back then, but Yogi's WAR that year was 5.3. Above him was, I'm not sure if Minnie Minoso that year was playing in the major leagues or if he was in the Negro leagues. I have to check that. But above him also was Early Win, 5.8, Eddie Juiced at 6.1, Ned Garver at 6.6, and Ted Williams at 7.1. Williams batted .318 compared to Yogi's .294. Williams had 30 home runs, Yogi had 27. Williams had 126 ribbies, Yogi at 88. Williams led the league in walks, on base percentage, slugging, OPS. But they didn't really care about a lot of those things back then, obviously.
Yeah, a different time, right? Ted Williams should have been the MVP that year.
Yeah, actually, Minnie Minoso was on two teams. That's why it had a weird thing there. He was on Cleveland and Chicago in 1951. So, but Yogi was on the team that won the World Series. He was on the Yankees.
Yeah. I mean, I think again, for me, the question is, who's the best player, right? And
best player is Aaron Judge.
Who would I rather have on my team, Kyle Raleigh or Aaron Judge?
Aaron Judge.
I think it's close. Again, we're talking about catcher, right? Replacement level catcher. Austin Wells has been a decent catcher. Has an OPS of 700 this year. So I think that these last 6 games will matter. Right. If one of them has a significantly better last 6 games than the other, I think that they're going to win. I think if nothing changes, I suspect Raleigh's going to win only because people get bored. Right. And that's the thing I hate because history is being made. Right. This is the only real purpose of the MVP award is as a record for history.
Yes.
A barometer we can use to measure people by. Like you look at Yogi Berra, it had an 8-year stretch where he was top 4 MVP award winner or better. We didn't have lots of framing numbers in Yogi Berra, right? But we the record, the writers did their best to establish that Yogi Berra was that good for that long.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a writer, if I had a vote, I would not be willing to kind of play that on board game. I'm looking for an interesting angle or something like that.
No,
that's not the job, right? Yeah, who's the best player? That's the question.
That's correct.
And when we remember, for example, Shohei Ohtani, you're going to remember that he's going to win 4 MVPs in 5 years, right? That's incredible, right? He is an incredible baseball player. And I want the record for Aaron Judge to be accurate as well. But again, if he ends up winning he's going to win 3 MVPs in 4 years. He's probably should have won the 2017 MVP. This moment in Aaron Judge's history, since 2022, is going to go down as one of the best runs ever, and maybe it will continue for years after that. I think that it does matter whether or not he wins the MVP or whether or not he's second place. It's going to be a fascinating vote. The last couple of votes has been, it wasn't even close, right? I mean, let's see, in last year, no one else got a first place vote. In 2023, when he, I'm sorry, I'm looking at Shohei Ohtani's page. In 2022, no one else got. Ohtani got 1 first place vote in 2022. And Ohtani was pitching and hitting at that time. Well, no, that Ohtani was on the Angels still.
Oh, okay.
Right. So right. So like that, the Judges never had real competition in this kind of current phase of his. And I think that rallies real competition. So I hope Judge hits like 5 home runs this week, right? And let's just settle it. Riley's hot as hell right now. He could hit like 5 home runs this week, and he could break Judge's home run record, right? That's crazy as a catcher. It's something I'll be watching. I care more about, is Aaron Judge at full steam for the playoffs? And I think right now we can very, very confidently say yes, right? Right now, Aaron Judge is playing some of the best baseball he's played all year. If I just look at his game logs over the last like 2 weeks, right? Let's go through the Boston series. I'll go through the Detroit series, right? Aaron Judge, actually, since the beginning of the Detroit series, Aaron Judge is batting .390 with a .534 on base, .854 slug. If I just go to the beginning of September, because I hate arbitrary cutoffs, even then it's .344 with a .506 on base. I mean, Aaron Judge is back, 100% fully operational back. He's going to have 1 day off before the playoffs, so he won't lose his timing. And then I think we're waiting for the big Aaron Judge postseason that we've never seen before. Last year, he had that week off, never really got his timing right. Even before that, the last game against Pittsburgh, he struck out 5 times, I believe. So I wonder if there was something going on, right? Going on there. But just has never really been, gone into the playoffs ready to go, right? Like he had that, the 2022 season, that was a mess of a playoff team of the Yankees. And he, I think, was probably just exhausted from the home run chase. And he had, that last couple of weeks was last week or two when he was getting close, that, I'm sure that took a lot out of him. Aaron Judge, he had the injury, took him some time to rehab it. He was only an 888 OPS, I think, while serving as a DH only, right? So he was only like the 10th best hitter in the league, while significantly diminished. And we can just say that's over. Like, it's Aaron Judge is back, and he's going to have a much better supporting cast around him than he has had in previous years. He had Juan Soto in 2024. They went to the World Series. But now he has like 5 guys who, none of them are Juan Soto, obviously, but they're all really good. And so the thing that always benefits Aaron Judge is when he can't pitch around him. You got to throw him a strike, or he's going to walk 4 times a game, which helps you because you have guys now behind him who can bat him in. So I'm excited. You're going to see a lot of lefties early in the playoffs because a lot of the American League teams you might face have a tough lefty or two. Aaron Judge is going to be Aaron Judge's numbers against lefties, if I remember correctly, I'm going to check right now, are like stupid. Like Aaron Judge against a right. Okay. So Aaron Judge against a right-handed batter, a right-handed pitcher, just merely 327, 444, 651, right? Okay. That's still the best hitter in like 10 years. Against lefties, 325, 474, 744 slugging percentage. Right? He just utterly destroys lefties. And I think that's going to be really important for the Yankees in the playoffs because most of those really good hitters in the Yankees lineup, I mean, really all of the other really good hitters other than Stanton, if Stanton's kind of back, are lefties, right? Jazz Chisholm, Cody Bellinger. Bellinger has weird platoon splits, but still. Ben Rice, Trent Grisham. Aaron Judge in the middle of all that. So you bring in a lefty, you start a lefty. Aaron Judge is gonna go big.
It's going to be exciting, and it's going to be next week. And so when we meet
a week from today, we're going to talk about it. We're going to be previewing a series.
We are going to be previewing a series.
And I don't know who we're going to play.
Well, let's go to that. I'm going to read down each of the divisions and the wild card guys and all that kind of stuff. So the Yankees are, as we said, 2 games behind Toronto, but they're really 3 games behind Toronto. Detroit's in first place because the Yankees lose the tiebreaker. Detroit is a game above the Guardians in the Central. And in the West, the Mariners have a 3-game cushion on Houston, which means that the wild card right now, the Yankees are up by 3 games over the Red Sox, who are up by 1 game over the Guardians. Actually, the Guardians and the Astros right now are tied. They're both 84 and 72, and they're 5 games over the Rangers.
And the Guardians are 1 game back of the Tigers, so the Central is still up for grabs too.
Correct. And so really one of those 4 teams is out. and it's not going to be the Yankees. They're 4 games up.
Yep.
The Red Sox only have a 1-game cushion. So between the Red Sox, the Guardians, and the Astros, one of those teams will not make it.
And the Tigers. Yeah, I mean, the Tigers are in a 6-game losing streak right now.
Could you imagine if the Tigers don't make it? You tell me, though, which of those
I would love it if the Tigers don't make it, because I don't want to see Tarek Skubal in the playoffs. Yeah, look, I think Cleveland has gone on a run, and it's just kind of taken a boring playoff picture and made it real interesting, because the Tigers have gone on an anti-run. The Astros have gone on an anti-run. And the Blue Jays have also had kind of a rough September, even though they are now, or at least rough couple of weeks, even though they're now probably safe. And I don't think this is a particularly good Guardians team. You look at their roster, you're like, who the hell are all these guys? Their pitching staff isn't very impressive. Their bullpen is half suspended. And yet they have won 9, they won 10 straight. And so, they're still going to win like 86, 87, 88 games on the season, but that's going to be enough to upset the wild card picture. And I would be happy if any of the other teams get knocked out, right? Like, I don't want to play the Red Sox. I don't want to play the Tigers. I don't really want to play the Astros, even though I feel a little more confident against the Astros than other teams. And so I'll take like if you knock one of those teams out, we get to face them in the first round. That's great. So we'd be facing the second wild card team most likely in the first round. Right now, that's Boston, but Boston could drop out of the playoffs. They could drop down to the third wild card team, end up having to play Seattle. We don't know, or play the AL Central winner. And I also, I also don't want to play those guys in the ALDS, right? So like, if Cleveland can not only make the playoffs, but make it through the wild card round, that means that we're either playing Cleveland or we're not playing the Red Sox or the Astros. Like, I will take the Blue Jays over any of these teams. I will take the Mariners over any of these teams. Like those, that'd be fine. Let's play those guys. Let's not play Garrett Crochet, Tarek Skubal, Framber Valdez. Don't want those guys.
Interesting. All right. Sounds good. Well, let's look at the National League.
Yeah, the National League is crazy.
We have a lot of Philly fans here. So, they like to tell us how great the Phillies are. And by the way, Pags and I were talking. He's the Philly sports guy. If the Phillies if the Yankees and the Phillies end up in the World Series, we might have to do something fun. But we'll see about that. So the Phillies are up by 12 games in the National League East. They've already clinched. They're 92-64. The Brewers have already clinched, I believe. They're up by 7 games in the Central. And the Dodgers are up by only 3 games in the West, which means the wild card picture right now in the National League has the Cubs up by 8, the Padres up by 5, and then there's the Reds and the Mets
and the Diamondbacks.
Diamondbacks a game out, and the Giants barely hanging on. They're 3 games out. So of the Reds, Mets, and Diamondbacks, which one of those 3 is not going to make the playoffs?
I have not been following these teams closely, so I'm kind of going on like vibes and hearsay right now. The Mets are in a bad place, right? They've just been awful for months. It's not a particularly injured team. They're just bad, right? Like I don't know. Like we complain about the Yankees, and I complain that the Yankees didn't hire David Stearns, who the Mets hired. Like I want David Stearns. Give me David Stearns. I think he'd be a great general manager in this organization. Has not had a good season, and this is a team that just spent $70 million a year on Juan Soto. Or not, I forget the number, whatever. A ton of money on Juan Soto, $700-something million on Juan Soto. And Juan Soto has had, I think, a solid season.
Yeah,
right?
I was just gonna go through his numbers. He leads the major leagues, I believe, in walks at 123.
He's got 30 stolen bases, which is nuts.
35, yeah. And he's only been caught 4 times. His on-base percentage leads the National League at 399. He has a 163 OPS plus, which really, except for his year last year with the Yankees, is his best in many years. He's hit 42 home runs and 104 ribbies. 20 doubles, 1 triple.
he said, he started off really bad defensively, but he's gotten much better throughout the season. I think he was an average defender since the All-Star break.
He should have over 300 total bases when the he's at 296 right now. He did not have a bad year, 6.3 WAR.
It tells you how much Aaron Judge spoils us, right? This is an MVP season when Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge don't exist, just easily, right? This is just a really great season from a really good player. They paid for this kind of season, and it's not enough, right? Like if the Yankees, let's put it this way, if you switched Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, the Yankees would be either not in the playoffs or right in that milieu like the Mets are. And Judge is not having his best season. Right? He could be even better than this. Judge is just in a different league. And so you maybe you're disappointed by Juan Soto's numbers. I'm not. I think Juan Soto is incredible.
He's had a great year. People have been down on him all year saying
he had a bad start. He had a bad start, right? I mean,
and that just carried over. They just complained about it all year.
I don't want to justify people complaining on sports talk radio because they're going to do that and they're dumb usually.
But I don't even listen to sports talk.
I mean, I haven't since I lived in New Jersey as a high school kid, right? Like I listen to podcasts when I'm in the car, but
it's just mundane. I just get tired of it.
It's lowest common denominator stuff. The Juan Soto signed the big contract. He is the star player on the New York Mets. And the New York Mets are probably going to, I think, are going to miss the playoffs. And they're going to win like 83 games. Now, that's not Juan Soto's fault, right? I mean, Juan Soto is the best player on that team. It's not Francisco Lindor's fault, who's had a good year. It's the GM's fault. It's the coach's fault. It's the players who didn't play well's fault. And so in some sense, it's not fair to kind of blame your highest paid player for not performing. But on the other hand, this is a really disappointing Mets team. And so I understand the frustration, and I would be frustrated too. I was frustrated too when the Yankees put up a very similar season to this in 2023. And Aaron Judge was, injured. It wasn't his fault that he was injured, and all the players around him didn't perform. But, if had history played out a little differently, you might look at that Aaron Judge contract and be like, wow, they made a mistake. They didn't. Aaron Judge's contract is great. And I don't think the Mets are ready to say that the Juan Soto contract is a mistake, but you're betting on being the best team in baseball while he's still in his 20s. And you're not. The Mets are pretty bad. And I'm curious if, heads roll this offseason because they spent a whole lot of money on a team that's going to win 85 games.
All right. So it's now December 1st. It's before the GM meetings. I don't know when they are, but usually they're a little after that. And the Mets fire David Stearns. Yeah. You are now the owner of the Yankees. What do you think?
I pick him up. I think David Stearns, the Mets free agent or the Mets farm system is looking really good right now. And it's something I think that the Yankees have improved on, but David Stearns was just churning out players in Milwaukee. I think more importantly, he's kind of creating a culture of winning in Milwaukee. Milwaukee has been, over the last 4 or 5 years, an excellent baseball team. They're the best team in baseball this year, spending a lot less money than a lot of other teams. And they're a fun team. There's like an ethos about that team. Go look at Caleb Durbin's stats. You're going to wish we had him back on this team. And so, I think David Stearns is a really good GM. I've said before, I think that Brian Cashman is a good 30,000 foot GM. And I think probably a bad operational GM. And I would love to see someone come in and overhaul kind of the day-to-day baseball operations of this club. And I think, I think I'd pay Stearns to do that if I were the Steinbrenners.
Caleb Durbin, 131 games, 263 batting average, 340 on base, 399 slugging, 739 OPS, a 106 OPS plus.
We could use that at third base right now, couldn't we? I take him over what the Yankees have played this year. And Devin Williams was pretty much a disappointment. So
he was a big disappointment.
Brewers won that trade. Now, obviously, David Stearns didn't make that trade, but it's his organization, just a couple of years out.
All right, EJ. So if out of all the National League teams, which one do you least want to face in the World Series?
It's a good question because, if they make the World Series, that means the team is going well, right? Like right now, I'll face the Dodgers right now, right? Like the Dodgers are in a funk. Nothing is going right for them. They're going to have to play in the wild card round this year. They won their division, but this is a super team that has not been a super team. They are worse than the Yankees this year. A lot of that's because of injuries, but they've also had Shohei Ohtani put up an MVP level season, and they're still kind of stuck in a rut. So I'll play them now. But if it's the World Series, that means that they have overcome their struggles, like they did during the postseason last year, and have all that talent is playing up. And so I don't want to face them in the World Series. I really don't want to face them in the World Series. I'm not really afraid of anyone else, right? You mentioned the Phillies. The Phillies aren't going to have Zach Wheeler. And that's a big reason why they won the division so easily. And I just think the Yankees are a more talented baseball team than the Phillies. There's some players in the Phillies I don't really want to face. Like Trey Turner is like perpetually underrated. Kyle Schwarber is going to hit some home runs in the postseason. Bryce Harper, like these are really good players, but I just think the Yankees are better everywhere, basically. I think that, I'll take our rotation over theirs. I'll take our bullpen over theirs. I mean, they have Harrison Bader leading off right now. Like that's not good. And so I think the only National League team that I don't want to see in the World Series are the Dodgers, maybe the Padres. But honestly, the Padres pitching staff is not that impressive to me. I just don't think that these teams can match up with the Yankees. I'd love to see Michael King in the postseason, but you're talking about maybe seeing Randy Vasquez and Nick Pivetta, Dylan Cease, Yu Darvish. It's just like it's not that scary to me. But who'll scare me at Freddie Freeman in the ninth inning against Tim Hill. Like I don't want any of that.
Oh my goodness. It's going to be fun, EJ. We've got, what do the Yankees have? 6 games to go.
We've got 6 games to go. We have the White Sox. We have the Orioles. Should be a fairly easy series. They're at home. The good news is if you care about like rest, right? The Yankees, they're at home for 6 games. They have a day off, and then they're at home for the wild card series. So, hopefully that helps them keep them rested. And hopefully these other teams who are fighting tooth and nail for their survival, for the playoff spot, they may have to burn their pitchers. So for example, Tarek Skubal is pitching tomorrow. So Tuesday lines him up to pitch on Sunday if needed.
And then then they lose them in that next round.
So maybe he wins that game, but then you don't have to face Tarek Skubal if Detroit ends up losing the division and getting a wild card spot. I'll take that, right? Give me anybody on that Tigers team other than him. The Yankees, on the other hand, Max Fried is pitching Wednesday, I believe, and Carlos Rodon is pitching, I believe, Friday. So Rodon will be the interesting decision point because I believe that if you want to pitch him in game 2 of the wild card, I think no, I guess you'll be okay because game 2 of the wild card is Wednesday. So the Yankees don't have any tough pitching decisions really to make this week. The Red Sox are going to have to make a decision. Do they want Garrett Crochet in extra starts? If they're going to that last game of the regular season, they have to be thinking about pitching some of these guys out of the bullpen. Right. And then one day off and then bam, you have a start. So that's a real tough decision for them. And here's the other thing. There's a chance that there's a tie for the last wild card spot, right? They're only separated by 1 game right now. So if there is a tie at the end of this week, then they have to play a tiebreaker game
on Monday.
On Monday. In fact, if there's, I believe there's no scenario where they have to play like a crazy like round robin, which is a scenario that's out there. Because I believe that the way that works is that the only tiebreaker games are for the playoff spots, and then the automatic tiebreakers decide those other ones. But I would love it if someone in that wild card game has to exhaust themselves in that other game. I don't think there's a scenario where we play the winner of that game because they'd be the last seed. But that's a scenario. I think that all bodes well for the Yankees. Like I'm pretty confident right now going into the postseason. It feels like this team is finally clicking. I still am annoyed that we haven't won the division because I think this team is so good that it should have won the division. But you start to look at like what players are doing right now. Like Ben Rice is going off. He had that big grand slam. Trent Grisham had his, month slump or so, and he's back. He started hitting a bunch of home runs. He had a bunch of big clutch home runs. That was amazing. right? Cody Bellinger is doing great. Jazz Chisholm is doing great. Volpe has come back from the injury and has looked amazing. And you just wonder shouldn't they have given a Corzine shot and a week off or 10 days off or 15 days off a few months ago? Yeah. But Volpe is looking, I mean, he's batting, I think, almost 400 since he came back from the injury, right? I mean, and hitting the ball really hard. And I haven't really paid too much attention to his defense because I'm listening on the radio mostly these days. So like, this is a team that's going. I guess the one player I'll be watching this week to see if he's still got is Stanton. Right. Stanton had that incredible 1 month and a half or so from when he came back, or once he kind of found his timing, and then went into like what is like, I think just people haven't realized it's just like a really deep slump. I haven't heard people talk about it in the game. I haven't heard people talk about it in other podcasts and stuff. Stan was really having a rough September, and I think that's starting to come around. If I look at his game log right here, yeah. So since the Boston series, let's say, how's he doing? Not great. Really not great. 730 OPS since the Boston series. Had a home run against Baltimore, but Stanton is in a pretty hard slump. I wonder if that impacts the decision to play him. The Yankees are going to face a bunch of lefties.
Yeah, he'll be in the lineup.
I think so.
I think the way the Yankees play these things is, I don't believe in what he's done in the playoffs is any indication of what he's going to do, that he has some type of superhero ability to become great in the biggest might. No, I just don't think that's realistic, right?
I'm a big believer in anti-clutch, but I'm not a big believer in clutch, right? Like you don't just save your good stuff for the playoffs. And maybe Giancarlo Stanton has like a unique ability to like beat a tired pitcher, but I don't really. I think it's more likely that it's just a little bit of random chance.
Right, but I think the Yankees are going to believe in the narrative and the myth, and he'll be in the lineup.
And their reputation. Lefty. Yeah, I think so. Maybe against righties you sit him.
Mm-hmm.
Against righties, they've been playing Dominguez a little bit lately, and I'd like to see Dominguez against lefties. It's nice to have a good right-handed bat off of the bench. I'm sorry, Dominguez against righties. Having another good right-handed bat off the bench, and so that could be Stanton. They were really gonna have a fun bench this postseason.
Stanton until this year was horrific off the bench.
Yeah.
His lifetime pinch hitting numbers were terrible, but he's done a pretty good job of it this year.
Yeah, I think you think about what Stanton, Goldschmidt, to a lesser extent, Ahmad Razar, Austin Slater can give you against a lefty relief pitcher. Excuse me, it's pretty huge because the Yankees are going to have high in their lineup, right? They, especially with the right-hand starter, they're going to have Trent Grisham leading off. They're going to have Bellinger, Jazz Chisholm, Ben Rice, all very high in that lineup, which means you become very vulnerable to a lefty reliever. And I think that's going to be the story of the postseason. Unfortunately, there are a decent number of lefty relievers in the American League. If you look at the Red Sox have 3 or 4 of them, the Guardians have a bunch. I think the Tigers have a bunch. So you're going to have that scenario where you're going to need to use your bench in be good strategic pinch hitting. You're gonna have to pinch it for Trent Grisham. You may have to pinch it for Rice, for Jazz Chisholm. And unlike any year that I can remember, I'm trying to remember the last time that I could say this. I think the Yankees have have the bench. Like they have really threatening guys off the bench. I mean, the 90s teams had that, especially the 96 Yankees. I'm looking at the 04 Yankees. They had a really good bench, if I remember correctly, right? They had Kenny Lofton. Remember that?
Yeah, but he wasn't great as a Yankee.
Or maybe 05. I'm thinking about the Ruben Sierra season.
Oh, Sierra was
he had like 20. Yeah, he had 20. No, he didn't.
Sierra was a long time before that.
No, but he came back in the 2000s and had like a really good season off the bench. I'm just trying to remember. Maybe I'm imagining it. So yeah, actually they didn't have a great bench in the 90s. In the 2000s, 07 you had Miguel Cairo. Yeah, really.
He played a lot of Enrique Wilson. That was the same. That was Joe Torre, a whole different era. But Enrique Wilson started some playoff games because he had a positive
numbers against Pedro. Yeah,
Pedro, and
that was
then
so
he
weird.
didn't do very well. But he can own Pedro. I just don't believe that.
That was dumb stuff. 04 Ruben Sierra had a really good year, and I remember him pinch hitting a lot that year. He had 17 home runs on the year. So really not that good actually, but yeah, I mean, was it Tony Clark's year if I remember correctly? There was not a good bench. So like this is if that kind of situational hitting, that kind of platooning matters in the postseason, this is the first year the Yankees have really been able to do it. You think about previous years, you had just empty benches, just guys. They would carry like pinch runners just because they have no one else to put there. And this year they have a full righty lineup and a full lefty lineup, and that's going to be fascinating. I'll be curious to see when they do face these tough lefties, like do they sit Jazz Chisholm? Do they sit Ben Rice?
No way.
I think they do. I mean, these guys have bad numbers against lefties.
Yeah, Jazz Chisholm is not sitting.
I mean, he hasn't lately, right? So they have been letting him play against righties, so lefties. So like their righty lineup has been McMahon sits for Caballero, Volpe plays shortstop, and like Ahmed Rosario plays one of the outfield spots. And I'm okay with that. Like I think it's probably what you're looking for in the postseason, but I do wonder if they'll be even more aggressive and again like play Caballero, Rosario, Austin Slater, and Goldschmidt. Like you replace the whole lineup. One problem with Ben Rice, right, is that I guess he catches against a lefty because you're going to play Paul Goldschmidt against a lefty. And I don't know if that's a good idea. I think Austin Wells is a much better defensive catcher, and I kind of worry about guys running on Ben Rice. The Orioles were running on Ben Rice. I mean, it becomes a real problem. So yeah, the actual managing has to happen this postseason, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, well, it'll be fun to watch, and it will also be fun, EJ, to second guess.
Oh yeah. We're going to do plenty of that. Like I forget Meg Rowley of Fangraphs. She does the Effectively Wild podcast. She's the editor-in-chief of Fangraphs. She's a big Seattle Mariners fan. And she described the postseason, I think perfectly, at least in my sense, which is, you're dying to get there. You're really excited that they get there. And then when they get there, it is the most unpleasant watching experience in the world because you are stressed at every single pitch. And that's going to be me. It can be a little bit much, but the Giancarlo Stanton home runs make up for it, and I'm hoping for a fun postseason.
Yes, and I would agree with that entirely. It's only fun when the games are over and the Yankees have won. Then it's fun. Getting to that point, unless they do 11 runs in the first inning, it's the nip and tuck and the back and forth. Yeah, that's not fun.
It's a little rough, and I'll tell you, I hate the fact that I'm gonna have to subscribe to YouTube TV again for this postseason. So I don't normally have a cable package, but I get one for October every year because the only way to watch the games.
Amazing. All right, EJ, listen, this is always fun. We will be here again live next Monday night, and have a great week.